Welcome back to In the Garden. I'm here with Jordan from Grange Co-op. And if you have a shaded garden and you think that you can't plant anything pretty in your garden, you're mistaken, because we have lots and lots of gorgeous shaded plants. Where to even start? There's so many different varieties. Which one do you want to highlight first?
So our customers are probably already familiar with things like ferns and hostas, some of the standbys, but that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to things in the garden. So let's talk about flowers. A lot of people who have a shady garden, they're limited on space. I think their biggest complaint is, well, my neighbor has snapdragons and sunflowers and zinnias and I don't have any of that color. There are bloomers and they're reliable bloomers. Some of the highlights are these astilbe. They're one of my favorite for growers because they bloom reliably even in the darkest shade. They don't need any sun. I mean, granted, they're not gonna grow inside, but adapt an area under trees is gonna give you hot pink and white and red orange flowers. They'll do great. Strawberry begonias are another one that are taking off this year. The ones we have in our display gardens are massive, bigger than I ever thought. They also grow like strawberries, where they'll fill in an area and make a great ground cover. And these variegated leaves are also really good for when the flowers are done, helping your other plants stand out, kind of giving that little bit of pop in the dark light.
Okay, and so with these ones, they kind of have little like fuzzy spikes on them. What are they, and how does that help the plant?
So a lot of these plants are going to be adapted to what is kind of a tougher climate or an environment for plants. So you have things like Oregon grape, which is our native. It's spiky. That's going to stop things from chewing on it. When you get to smaller understory plants like these strawberry begonias, those hairs usually keep water from piling on it, which will help with disease. They also help small critters from nibbling on them as well.
Okay, I never knew that. There we go. That's why if you have plenty of spikes, it's like a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
Very cool.
They're testy.
I love that. And so this one over here is pretty cool. This is like, it has some green and white. Why does it have the discoloration?
So they've been bred for this variegation. These are the Fatsias. They're a great option for someone who maybe wants a more contemporary, kind of a modern looking shade garden, a little more chic. Even though they look tropical, they're very hardy, and they'll get, for a large plant, they do actually flower early. But those giant leaves are a highlight, great in a corner of a garden, somewhere you want to draw people's attention to.
Okay, and then these can get pretty big, right?
Several can, yeah. Your Oregon grapes can make a large shrub. Like I said, your Fatsias. We have this golden akuba, similar to the Fatsia. It's a very contemporary design. It has these lovely gold patterns on it. Again, a great highlight in a dark area. When you see this out in the nursery or you're buying it and you go, well, it doesn't stand out that much, you haven't put it into the shade yet, where any bit of color is going to jump out. On that same note, we also have things like coral bells. Coral bells come in every other color you can think of, from deep purple to almost black to this lime green. They can give you some really cool color combinations that aren't as traditional as some of your other garden landscape plants.
Okay, and so then what about like watering and fertilizer? Is there anything specific to these kind of plants that people may need to know when it comes to watering and fertilizer?
As a general rule of thumb, most shade plants, having adapted to grow into the forest, are going to like a little bit more organic matter in the soil. They're going to want more acidic soil. That's not every shade plant, but most of them. When in doubt, check the specific needs for that exact or that particular plant variety, but that's a good rule of thumb. So we're talking about acid planting mix, acid lover fertilizer, a good mulch on the top to help keep that moisture in. Again, they're not plants designed for the desert. They're used to growing up underneath the shade of trees.
All right. Okay. Well, if you guys are interested in, having, or if you have a shaded garden that you want to fill with these gorgeous plants, we also have a segment on the fertilizers that you can use and utilize for your plants. So of course, you can always head to kdrv.com to check out that. And of course, you can always go into a Grange Co-op store to learn more information and pick up some of these gorgeous, gorgeous plants. But thanks for joining us in the garden.